I'll hit the recording button, so. We're recording now.
Oh, I'm already sensing a theme for tonight.
Nothing? Yeah, yes. Thank you.
I took the training
What's that?
years ago. Had a lot of years of that.
You gotta get Chase to do that.
I don't know who that was.
I don't know.
That's funny though. Why would somebody report that?
You have somebody on the ball. Moving up and down.
I just wonder.
Okay, there, Stearns County, 7 o'clock. You guys want to go ahead and get started?
Sure. So I'm Mitch Dieterman, do the resume.
Hang on a second. I gotta open up the board, I gotta open it up, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, all right. Then I will go ahead and open up the first thing for the evening, local board of appeals for Stearns County.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so Mitch Dieterman. I've been working out here since 2015, and I do the residential and a little bit of farmland. And Kathy Cordy is my sidekick tonight.
I'm Kathy Cordy. I do the commercial, industrial properties in the city. So we take team in the area.
Yeah, and by the way, Randy says hi to you guys. He said he couldn't be here tonight, but I said, tell the board I said hi. Anyway, we're just here for the Board of Equalization, and I haven't heard phone calls from anybody this year, so that was good on the Stearns County side, but I can just briefly go over the market activity of the packet that I sent you guys, and we really only got 3 sales last year in our sales study period, which was October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 22. And our sales ratio is 85.7%, so we're supposed to be right around 95% of sale price. So values overall in the city were up 5 to 15, most of them closer to like 8 to 10, I would say. And so that's down from last year. Last year was a little bit higher. Countywide, actually, values were up significantly. Outside of Eden Valley, we didn't see as much change, but last year the average change in Stearns County was probably around 21%, which is significant. This year the average change was closer to like 5 to 6, sometimes a little more. The big thing that we noticed this year for sales activity was farmland. There's not much in the town, but there are a few parcels. I think John Bradshaw's got a big one. But farmland in the county was up probably in the 10 to 15% range, but the Green Acres Valley, which is what farmers pay tax on, that was up 20% roughly, sometimes 25%. So like in the township, their farmland was up significantly, and so how that would affect you guys potentially is the tax portion. Basically, there's a bunch of different classifications of property, but there's 3 main taxpayers, it seems like, which is residential, seasonal, farmers, and commercial businesses. So next year, it looks like there might be some tax shifting towards farmers because this year the average residential change was closer to 5 to 8%, and farmland's up, their tax was up more. So potentially you could see some tax shifting going on next year. So lower for residential people, but the last few years residential has been getting hit pretty hard because valuations have been going through the roof and farmland's been lagging. As far as commercial stuff, I'll let Kathy take a look at that.
Yeah, commercial has gone up about between 3 to 5% in the city. Some other districts saw a little bit more, like the city of Paynesville. I believe they went up about 8%. They were hit a little bit more. They had more sales. Apartments went up between 8 and 10% in the area, and that they keep on going up. I think they had a big increase as well last year, but the apartments are selling well. That's all that I have for commercial. I didn't have any new construction for commercial.
Yeah, that's the bulk of what we experienced. And as far as like in the next study period, we just have one property I think that sold on Coleman Avenue. So we were sitting right around the low 90 sale percent on that after our most recent changes. So looks like we're where we need to be. The market does seem to be slowing down. I mean, interest rates now are 6.5%, 7%. So basically, I had, this year I had a decent amount of phone calls, but nowhere near as much as last year because last year values went through the roof. So a lot of people seem to think like, hey, my value, they cobble their value and like my value is too high, and they think the market's going down and crashing. But at this point, in Eden Valley specifically, we're not seeing that, and as well as my other districts like the townships and Kimball, haven't seen that yet. Things seem to be holding up because there's still a lot of demand, but not a lot of supply. Everybody who bought a house, everybody bought a house in the last few years or refinanced at like 3%. So not a lot of supply and still a lot of demand. So anything that has been selling has been, it's been holding up. We're not seeing a 2008 at this point yet. But what I always tell people is the county is a year behind the market. So, today, if the market crashed, we're already halfway through our study period for next year. So we're lagging behind. So we would only pick up potentially the second half of that. So that's what I always tell people. We're always roughly a year behind. So if the market goes up, people don't really have a problem with their value because the county value lags, so we're a little low. But when it starts to turn over, then people get concerned because nobody wants to pay more tax than they have to, which is understandable. So just something to look forward to or look ahead to in case somebody asks you guys, about the county values. But you guys have any questions for us at all, or?
Maybe you touched on it a little bit, but do you see the housing market flatlining or starting to, recess a little bit?
I mean, I haven't seen it a whole lot. The biggest district that I work on that I have kind of started to notice that is I process all the sales for the city of Sartell. And so out here on Stearns County side, we got, 3 sales last year, and then I think the most I ever had in 1 year out here was maybe 6 on the Stearns County. And Sartell averages like 2 to 230 sales a year, so there's a lot more out there. And what I've noticed lately, in the most recent batch of sales, probably in the next study period, is that it does look like our value is creeping up to 100% and sometimes a little over, to like 105%. So it looks like it might be peaking. But I haven't seen any major declines anywhere in my areas at this point. You seen anything in your districts for?
No, I've just mostly had commercial stuff, and that's about the same. But we did process 300, we had 300 parser CRV sales from last year, so we were down in the sales a little bit. And they do seem to be slower, like you said, creeping in, so.
Yeah, trend-wise, like, if you look at, like, zoom out to, like, the United States, I have seen that, on, like, the West Coast, it seems like bigger cities like San Francisco and Seattle, it seems like their values are already down maybe, like, 10 or 15% off their peak, but I think they went a lot higher, and now, I think there's been a lot of, like, tech layoffs in the economy, and so it seems like the market's kind of contracting faster there. And then I think I was listening to a radio program, and they said basically you can draw a line north-south in Colorado, and things to the west seem to be coming down faster. And as you move east, they seem to be holding up a little more. In the Midwest particularly, and in like Stearns County, it seems like basically the volume of sales is coming down because there's not as much listed, because somebody bought a house a few years ago at a low interest rate. If they want to buy a step-up house, they're pretty much going to be getting less house for more money. And so, I mean, the financing with the high interest rates is really seeming to put a squeeze on things. So, and I also talked to a guy who's in construction, and he said in the St. Cloud area, in 2008, there was, I think, something like 1,200 vacant homes during, when the market started to turn. And now there's, only a couple hundred. So it's kind of a different situation where we haven't seen like the foreclosure thing and things like that. It's just interest rates. And, I've seen even billboards around town that are like, buy a house now and then refinance later when rates go down. So I think they're trying to pitch that right now. But anyway, long story short, haven't seen it yet. And technically, I think we were going to, on our meetings, because our meetings are usually, there's not a whole lot of people that show up here. now that Troy's on the board. So, so.
I had to do it for a while. I know that was going. I've been doing this all day, so we're good.
Oh, it was like stone faced over
I just felt like I was at one of my work meetings.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All I could think of was like, Mitch, how many times he's gonna go around our neighborhood again and say, oh, let's jack it up more.
But yeah, we were going to, our meetings say, hey, we're here from 7 to 7:30, and I think we were going to try to get it to say from 7 o'clock until all appeals are heard, just because a lot of times we sit around for the last half the meeting, but we didn't get anything out on that notice, and I think DOR said if you don't have anything, you have to stay as long as the notice says, so technically our meeting has to stay open until 7:30.
There's about 20 districts, and it's just something if you want to think about, because I think after this meeting, then you have your regular council meeting, is that correct?
Meeker County's not counting.
Meeker? Okay, yeah, because some districts, they will set up a separate day for the meetings, but we have at least 20 districts right now that are going to open book meetings where you hand off your responsibilities on it, and they work through us and then just go to the county board if they're not happy. That's always an option too. I mean, we like coming out here and meeting with the council, but sometimes some of the board members feel uncomfortable being in this situation,
That was kind of a comment I had earlier. I'm like, why do we even do these? Because we can't do anything about it except for sit here and get yelled at. So, what we wind up turning it over to you guys for the person to talk to you. So you work it out and then you come back with your recommendations. So.
Yeah, I know, so with these board meetings, on those notices, it basically says, the first step to appeal your value is to call the county. And so, if they'll just call me, and then if something can't get resolved, then they come here, and then, obviously they say their part, I say my part, and then you guys can make a decision ultimately. But with an open book, we have, some smaller districts, they basically, you just don't even have this meeting, and then the county basically they just work with the county and not you guys. And then if there's, an agreement cannot be reached between us, then there's a county board of appeal in June, basically that has, 5 members, kind of like you guys, and then they can make the decision. So I know that some smaller cities have gone to that because they're like, well, we don't want to do it or whatever, but, we don't try to force you guys to do it because obviously, then you lose your power to have this meeting and potentially have more control over your districts. But yeah, we just had a few. I don't know. Do you know what districts of small ones that you've had?
Recently, the city of Freeport, I do the city of Freeport, and they went with open book, and they would have it, when their city council meeting would start at 7, that's when the local board would start. So they would have a bunch of people in the background, or, in the audience for other items that were on the boards, and it got really kind of hairy, scary, because all of a sudden some people would just start barking in, and but they tried to control it. But then when it calmed down, in a couple of years no one came, they had to keep that meeting open. So they would let us sit there, they'd move on to their city council meeting until 7:30 and then close it, and then we'd be able to walk out. But they had decided that it was just cumbersome. But you guys do it right, where it's like you have our meeting before your regular council meeting, so it's not an issue. I forget what district, there was a district that did, I thought had their separate meetings, and it just was more of a cost, the per diem, publications, all that too, that decided to go through open book.
Watkins just went open book last year for Meeker, just for the fact that they didn't have anyone coming for multiple years. So.
Yes, I do have a question. I was thinking,
Sorry, no, go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, your question's way better than mine.
Not really. My question is, if for those who are using the open book system, if there's an appeal, do the residents or the property owners have to pay? As opposed to if there was an appeal after the fact and they were able to come before the council, then they wouldn't need to pay for that.
Well, I mean, you don't have to like pay a fee to come to these meetings or anything like that. Is that what you meant, like the taxpayer when they come in, or?
If there was a resident or a property owner who felt that the assessment was not fair and they had some information to bring before the board and say, I need you to revise or review this, and there was a determination, but they wanted to appeal. And so if they appealed, if this process is not there, do they then immediately have to automatically then pay for that? As opposed to when it is a council board and not the county board, the Board of Appeal is hearing their appeal.
Yeah, so basically what they would do is if, like, let's say you were appealing your value and you told me like, hey, like, I don't think my value is high, or I don't think my value is fair, and I said, oh, I think it is fair, and we couldn't agree, then, yeah, you would go to the county board, but there's no fee for that. And, you could either just appeal, in writing, or, you can come to the meeting or have a representative there, so there wouldn't be like a fee to attend any of the meetings, if I think if that's what you're asking, but.
Are you kind of looking at that when, if we weren't certified, that $500 one? Or is
No.
not at all?
The fact that it would be the county
Okay.
hearing that and not the city.
Sure.
So would there be a charge?
No, there's no charge. It's a service that's provided at the meeting. And the county board that they go to, that they present to, is local real estate agents, appraisers. There's one a resident, an agricultural person that has that background. So it's not it's not any voting members of a commissioner or anything. It's a pretty good board, and they have a good background on the market, and there is no fee. They just call and sign up. They're not charged for anything for attending it or making an application to attend.
I think the people on the board get some sort of stipend or something like that.
Right,
Yeah.
oh yeah, definitely the board is they get a free meal and I don't know how much it is that they get paid.
No, don't get any ideas.
I guess maybe my question was not very clear. I'm coming from the perspective that, at least through the compliance training that we did, if we were not certified to hear those appeals, or if we didn't have enough people, and then the appeals have to go to the county, then the city would, I think, pay for that.
Well, I think if you don't, so like if there was gonna be a meeting here and you guys didn't have a trained member for that, then it would be turned over to the county it would go open book for, I think, at least 2 years before you guys could get it back. So I don't know if that's your question, but basically if you guys either didn't have at least 3 people here and 1 trained, or if you had everybody here and nobody was trained, you would lose the local board of appeal for this year and next year, but then the county would take that over, and we would not charge a fee for that.
Yeah, we don't bill back our hours.
Yeah, and so,
Is that how, or are you saying like if they came in with their value, it was lowered, who pays for that difference?
In that training, I think I know what she's talking about.
Okay.
There was a statute in there or something about, it was like $500. I think that's what you're relating to is, like if none of us were trained on it and we lost that, there was something in there about a statute about $500 or something.
Oh,
yeah, let's see here. So it says, okay, if a county or special board of appeal and equalization fails to satisfy quorum training requirements, owners and taxpayers who would have appealed to the local board of appeal can appeal to the commissioner of revenue before August 1st. A fee of $500 per tax parcel that is appealed will be assessed to the county. So I think that might be if people at the county board actually don't make, if they don't have a trained member or 3 out of 5 people, I think that's what that means. So, yeah, I've actually never seen this before.
I don't either. I know.
I think,
Yeah, I know, you're talking $500.
You scored.
but I think in this case, if the county offered that a city could go open book, then the county cannot turn around and ask
Right.
for that 500. But I was asking because I saw that. I'm a good student.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
saw that
say,
when I was
I'm
going through that. I thought if this happened, then do we have the taxpayers paying an extra amount?
If they
when-
go to the,
Yeah, I
it's a
don't think,
different Board of Appeal, first of
Right,
all, it's to the,
right.
yeah, so,
So another good thing like about an open book is it does allow a taxpayer to appeal their value for a longer amount of time. So like once you guys close the meeting, it's done, it's over with. They can't move on to county because they have to attend either in person or by writing in the local board. So if you are an open book, it does allow them to appeal all the way up until the day of county board. So it gives a taxpayer longer time.
Yeah.
For like the snowbirds that don't make it back in time, things like that.
Yeah, that's a
It's
good
got perks,
idea.
It's got, pros and cons to both.
It's a good concept. I was just concerned about who gets to pay that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
Yeah.
never seen that in there either.
yeah, right?
we don't really take the
That's new to me.
training.
The new
So
staff.
thank
It's
you.
been in there every time I've taken it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's been in there for a while.
and this will be good. We have a staff meeting tomorrow that,
Right.
meeting that
You
we're
can
gonna be
still get a
discussing
deduction
that.
then?
yes.
You get a deduction?
Yeah,
Yeah.
discount.
A gold
500.
star.
Are you interested in being an appraiser? Attention to detail. There you go.
If you ask for your address, don't give it to them.
No.
It's happened to me twice. Serious.
Are you guys here to, for the Board of
Meeker,
Meeker? Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So my question was, real quick, COVID was kind of hitting at that 2020, whatever. And I know in Meeker County, I know there was a few residents that were questioning their value. Did we have any in Stearns County, that were appealing it, but we weren't able to go in or whatever to assess? And if that was the case, have we been able to readjust or since that time?
So for Eden Valley, there wasn't anything like that. I know for Greater Stearns County, during that weird period, we didn't go into homes, so we would have people like send, a video or pictures of the inside of their houses. So I think everything at that point has been remedied, because now, before we were supposed to be like wearing masks and like not going in, but now it's sort of like business as usual, right? We're just walking around knocking on doors and stuff. So yeah, everything, there wasn't anything, I don't believe so, in Eden Valley. And then, yeah, you have any?
Yeah,
We had more on the Meeker side, I think it was, but
Oh, okay.
I just was asking you
Yeah.
if we had any in Stearns County that was
Yeah,
an issue.
no. Speaking of reviewing properties, for the COVID time when we were not allowed on properties, we sent out the verification forms, the cards, and those have just gone out. People were getting them today, and, next couple of days they'll get them. And so we're still using that practice that they can go in online and still fill out information on their property. And then we would just do like a drive-by, because people that don't return them, we still go visit to their homes. If we don't have a current picture and someone returns one of those forms and fills it online, if we don't have a current picture, we will stop and take a picture of the home. But we're still using that practice. It's been working out pretty good for us to get more information on homes.
Yeah, this year, the north side of town's getting those cards, and then next year it's back to Croy's edition.
So if
I
you,
redid my basement on the 31st.
Okay, I already knew.
So I'll send you the pictures.
Yeah, right. I can just take a look tonight, though, after the meeting.
No.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's still a valid excuse not to have people come out, so, that's fine.
No, it was just a question, because I know there are some people that.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, for sure.
But you're more than welcome to next stuff if you want to. I'd be more happy to show you.
Oh, appreciate that.
You can have a copy.
All right, next year. But yeah, not too much, I know we have a sheet of information in here that we were supposed to share, or we could share with you guys if we, to go kill some time, I guess. But, one important thing I actually thought is good for sharing with people is, so I don't know if you guys ever look at your tax statement, but there's something called a homestead exclusion on there. And basically it's the higher your value of your house, the less exclusion you get. So a lot of people kind of get, they're not happy about that, right? My value goes up, my exclusion goes down. That's kind of like a double whammy. But So basically that program says the first $76,000 of value, you can exclude 40% from taxation. Anything above and beyond that, it phases out until you hit 413,800. And so basically that phase out number hasn't changed in like 10 years,
20.
20 years. And home values have, you know, gone up at least 50, 60% since the inception of that. So I know the county's kind of talked with, we have a legislative committee who talks to, you know, some of the representatives. And so, you know, with the big state surplus, we said, hey, maybe that would be a good thing to help give tax relief to homeowners. So that was mentioned last year, but there was no tax bill passed at the state. And so this year, I think they're aware of it again. So potentially they might look at it this year. So that would help lower your taxable market value. Just a thing that would help all homeowners. But we'll see.
Is there a percentage for non-homesteaded, or how do you figure a homestead and non-homestead?
Yes.
Exclusion?
Yeah, so there's no exclusion for non-homestead. Basically, you're just at a flat tax rate. It's pretty much your market value, and then it's, you know, I think the 1% of the tax capacity. So let's say your value is $200,000. You're taxed on $2,000, and then the local taxable tax rates affect it. So basically, your taxes are higher being non-homesteaded, and roughly, I mean, depending on where you are, if you're on like a $200,000 house and your homestead versus non-homestead, you're probably saving, you know, a couple $100, maybe a little more, depending on the tax rates in the area. Meeker can correct me if they think that
Yeah,
number's
that
out.
sounds
Yeah.
pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you know, if it's homestead or non-homestead versus like a really low valued house, you're gonna be saving more tax. But if it's like, you have like a $420,000 house that's homestead or non versus non, like the taxes are gonna be the same. The only benefit then would be if you're homestead, you can file for a property tax refund, stuff like that. So if you're not homestead, you can't do that. So hopefully they increase that number, but for the exclusion, because a lot of, you know, people in the township who are, you know, on the lake or whatever have a big acreage, like they're getting phased out of that homestead thing, and so there's some, yeah, people get upset about it, and I get it. The state program, so hopefully they change it.
Just about killed all the time. How about the lake shore, is that going down at all?
No, not yet. Rice Lake, interestingly, so Rice Lake is the big lake just north of here, and normally we get like 8 to 10 sales a year, and so 2 years ago we had like the big increases, and Rice Lake was up like 33%. Last year, we only had 4 sales on the lake, which was crazy. I've never seen it like that low. And our values on the lake were probably up like roughly 10%, which is 10 to 12 actually, which is more than a lot of the other lakes in the area, which you know, only saw like a 5%. So it seems like Lakeshore is coming back too, but yeah, I don't know about.
I do like Coronas, and that kind of leveled off for a little bit. My residential land went up a lot, properties went up a lot more than the lake did. In prior years, the Lakeshore was always getting hit hard on their sales. But what I was finding is people that had their homes down, you know, in other areas, started working remote, sold those homes and just moved to the lake. We've had more people move, like homestead out on the lake now for year-round homes than have been before. And when I've talked with them, they have said that since we can work remote, I don't need my other place here, we prefer it here, so. But yeah, the sales have slowed down, but still getting a decent amount, but not what they used to be.
Because wasn't it like last year, was it ag or the lakeshore, one of them?
Lakes
There was
went-
a big difference in
Yeah.
valuations.
Yes,
That's
Lakes.
why I asked if it was just kind of leveling back out versus like
Yeah.
in town versus ag.
Yeah, there's tax shifting going on all the time, because like in 2008 when the housing market crashed, like farmland was up a lot, and so like taxes were shifting towards farmland. But the last like 10 years, especially the last like 5 years, they've really swung towards residential people. And then farmers also have like a pretty good presence at the state, so they have a lot of, you know, they're getting more school credits, things like that, you know, a lot of times schools have to look at how they address their funding for bills, because, you know, basically there's some taxes for schools that say, hey, we're only gonna tax the house and the garage per acre, and then there's other ways where we tax all the land. So a lot of these schools are now, in order to get these bills and funding passed, they're saying it's not gonna be on the land, it's gonna be on the vote for it. So that also puts more pressure on the properties for taxes and stuff like that. More to come, I guess.
All right, well, we expended our time. I'll go ahead and close the local board of appeals for Stearns County. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for the additional information we get to.
I'd like to get a shout out. If
You
will. No, do not. Give him Michael. Hey, Michael lives in that
Yeah.
neighborhood too now, so it's Michael's neighborhood now. Yep.
Did you feel the tires?
Oh, no, we stopped.
Right on top of them?
Idling.
Yeah, I just, yes.
That must be if it goes to the next level beyond the county, because he said the county gets charged for it.
Because we didn't do our job, you know.
Yep. This is for Meeker County now.
He's in the bathroom, no. I honestly don't know if he's even on duty tonight. He might just be wearing the clothes.
Yeah, he might be here, but the other one might be out and about.
He told me Monday night that he was at the end of his long week, so.
You guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right, then I will go ahead and open up the local board of appeals for Meeker County.
All right, I am Missy Voigt. I've been the appraiser for Eagle Valley for the last 3 years. I am also acting Inland County Assessor at this present time, so forgive me if I don't get through this really well. I'm just gonna kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Mitch said. Meeker County is polar opposite of what's going on over there. We weren't as lucky to raise our value so little this year. You guys all have a handle, just kind of touch base on the egg sales. I know we don't have a lot here, just a little bit on the outside of town here. Our egg values went up about 40% this year. There's a Meeker County map attached, I believe it's probably the second to last page in the packet. I just kind of wanted to show you this as you know, it's supposed to be within 90 to 105% of the sales that do occur. So on our egg listing, you'll see a little thing up on the very left side that says medium. And that is our median raw ratio, that's before any adjustments are made. So we're sitting right around 89%. Now this map here shows what the state dictates as our time trend. So we have to add 39.71 to every sale that occurs. We were the highest in the state of Minnesota this year.
Wow.
Didn't you just have like a 30% like 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
Yes. This is just strictly egg land. This is
No,
our-
Eglon, okay.
So our egg values went up about 40% countywide. A little bit more down in the southern part of Meeker County, but for the most of it, right around 40%. That's a little bit going on there. Next listing is the entire county residential sales, followed by Eden Valley's portion. We had 9 good sales in Eden Valley this year. Again, on that sheet, very last row, our median ratio for the city of Eden Valley, prior to any time adjustments that the state gave us, was 80%. With that being said, we had about 17% time adjustment on our residential land. That's pretty average countywide, just residential stuff, or both all the way around 17%. So there again, that ratio flexes way down. Eden Valley, Brook City, Watkins, all went up about 32% this year for Meeker side. And there again, it's all dictated by our sales. I only had 3 phone calls this year, 2 of which I was able to visit, and then Dave wrote a lot here. Other than that, it was pretty quiet for Eden Valley. So the next sheet that I have is just our residential land schedule, what it is for building sites through the first basically 10 acres and above. So if you get little 5-acre pieces right in the edge of town or whatever, for Eden Valley, it's gonna be 40,000 for that first acre, and then here's down the next 1, 2, and 3. Then I just kind of gave you guys a copy here of what our egg prices are for total land countywide. This year, we've had some huge jumps. And a couple transition act in Litchfield Township and Meeker County are a little transition from north to south, east to west, so they didn't quite get as much, but. And then my last sheet is just kind of what everybody went up in our county. It was pretty consistent average all the way around, was about 4% in every jurisdiction. It's a really bad year for Meeker. Really bad our lake shore. We had 2 really bad lakes this year that are normally slower, and they were the top ones this year, which is very weird. Then our one that's normally our top seller hardly moved at all. So that is a little bit what's going on in Meeker County. Do you guys have questions on any of it?
When you have such sizable increases like that, does that end up bringing any like visibility from like the state level? They want to audit you, or?
No, not really. So when we move land, because the state looks at all of our sales different ways. So they look at just egg land, then they look at it with buildings. You have to separate the 2, combine the 2 back together, still you gotta make sure both separated are within that 90 to 105%, and then you have to bring it back together to still make sure you're there. Which kind of helps to see if you go too high. So then when you bring it back together, I think we're at about 92% only on our egg stuff. Then when you flip to the residential side, there again, they do residential, and then they do things on water. Again, figuring out separately, combining them back together. And if you don't move one enough, that's when those state board orders start to come. So when we're doing these substantial increases like this, they see that, okay, they did move 40, 45%. They can't quite get there. What are their new sales coming in looking like? So if your new sales are kind of matching what you did move, then you're kind of kosher on that. But then everything is county eligible, egg separate, residential separate, everything back together. It's a very complicated process. How they look at it, so, we haven't had, our last state board order was for land in Providence, and that was 5 years ago. And it was pretty minor, it was just 5%. So people didn't really see that, because they do that in May and we don't notify anyone. They just slap 5% on and they don't see it till they get the back. So
for a while, wasn't Meeker, cause at one of the meetings we had, wasn't there like, for a while Meeker was always low there, and then all of a sudden, instead of doing a slow increase, it kinda just went, and then now it's just, now you're finally getting to the, where the even keel mark is,
Right.
basically.
Right, I think we've caught finally. And, cause I know like on our A stuff, we appealed that last year because you're always paired with another county, so like Meeker's paired with McLeod, if we don't have enough sales. If one or the other has enough sales alone, then they let you separate. So we were separated last year, only had 11% in our A, well, that didn't work out very well for us. So, it's a method that we use, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. But yeah, I think we're finally caught up. I do have 3 new sales so far in Eden Valley that are coming in pretty on point, so. We'll see where that goes. The sales have slowed down, like Mitch said. Value-wise, I still see what people were paying last year, but the sales have just kind of, we used to be at 4 or 5 a day, now we're lucky if we get that week. So.
Any other questions before we go into the recommendations? Okay,
You
You
want
want
to do the recommendations, or would you like to hear the appeal first?
Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and, hear the appeal. Dave, you wanna come up to the, I guess the podium isn't really set up for you, but.
He's quick, should get over there.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering why, I know you're sitting about 20%, which is,
You get the copy.
I can see my own good land, or home, but that thing they have back on the soul, so, food on there, you can't read it, you know, and so it's a different tax issue. And we can read it, that's the nation's law. So why did it go up?
That was so when we move land, it's on everything. So,
I can't use it though.
right, so I have you valued as low as our system lets us go, plus I have a negative 35 adjustment on it for an unusable, unbuildable lot.
You went up from 45, from 3,200 to 45.
Yep,
Why?
because of the sales. It's all based upon the sales. Yeah, I understand that. It's still one line. It's still, is there a way that you could combine that?
Combine those two lots?
Yeah, I don't, you have to.
If they're, no, we'd have.
Yeah, I would
we'd have-
imagine so.
Yeah,
I mean, that might be I don't know that its value would go any lower, because it's still ultimately gonna be the same, that back proportion will still be tiered off and valued more into the waste portion of it.
Dave, is that lot that you're talking about there, is that adjacent to your house lot? Are they connected to each other?
Yes.
Okay, then.
Yeah, they,
Then technically you
Then-
could combine them. Is there a way that we could, run the numbers if that was the case? I mean,
I could, yeah.
That's still gonna make it any lower. It's still not say that that is, look, there's something in because that's our property.
you'd combine both your lots into one big lot, and then. That's what we're thinking, like, if that would make any difference either way for you. Well, if it makes it any better, then that would, that'd be something you could look at doing. If it doesn't, then where you got it set up now would be your best, your best option.
what was the value last year? I'm sorry, I didn't. Thank you.
unfortunately, your value would be the same.
If
If I
the-
change that debit factor as one lot, combined together, it would be the same price.
Okay.
The
So it
same
wouldn't-
price
it
as
wouldn't be
what?
It wouldn't be a change,
Right.
Oh, okay.
all right. Well, shoot.
What would we have to do to, make it one lot?
It's just it's an administrative
Yeah.
lot combo. It's a fairly simple thing. If parcel one being his house lot, their house lot, and they combine with the empty lot, it'll combine the two tax values together, is what you're saying. So it'll be 4,500 plus the other. They're not gonna save anything by combining the
Right, they're
lots.
just gonna go on to one
Okay,
parcel.
right.
Well, then, I could have set up now on the parcel, and I can have a home and plus one or two outbuildings. If we could combine both those into one, I could take more off to get buildings up there.
No,
No.
Why not?
Unfortunately not. It's just the way the ordinance is written, Dave. That the way the ordinance is written, each parcel in town here can only have the main living quarters and then two outbuildings. And that wouldn't matter if you have, a 1/4 acre lot or a 3 acre lot. Yeah, unfortunately, Dave, like what Missy was saying, property, just property in general, whether it's usable or not, has gone up significantly this year. Everybody's getting hit with it, and unfortunately, that's just,
Why?
It's all based upon this, on sales. If Eden Valley didn't have any sales whatsoever, then the increase wouldn't be justifiable. So the state requires us to be within 90 to 105% of sales that come in. I can't just raise the sale prices of the homes that were bought. We have to raise the jurisdiction as a whole. Yeah, so that's what dictates it. So when there are 6 sales, Eden Valley had 9 on the Meeker County side. So, and we were very low on that, so we had to move values up to meet the threshold for the state as a whole jurisdiction. It can't just be, we're raising it on the houses that sell. Because then your taxation as a jurisdiction gets all moving.
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
I could still have a lot for 40% more than I have now, and that's quite what it is. Again, it is fine. We'll go through it. Thank you. We'll still do it, I do.
Okay, let's go. Sorry.
No worries.
And Missy, maybe something you could explain, especially because we have 2 brand-new council members to this, who haven't gone through the local Board of Appeals, that when when people come in to appeal a decision that the county has made, whether it be state dictated or not, it ends up being, the county, that what options do they have at this when you're making 2 recommendations?
Yep. So at this meeting, you do have the option to lower his value. That is up to you guys. Most of the time, somebody needs proof on why it should be lowered. And you can lower it, I believe it has to be by a percentage, if I recall. So then you would vote on it. Sometimes people just leave, and sometimes the board chooses to wait till the end to make the motion on everything at one time. You can vote while people are here. You can take individual ones. The only thing you cannot do is change classification of the property. Pretty much. So like if it was not homesteaded, it has to stay not homesteaded. You can't change that to a homestead property. So.
Could I ask a question?
if they were to decide to, bring his value down, so he pays less in tax, does that open it up for everybody else to say, I want that too?
No, because they have to be here.
Sure.
So, and that's, once this meeting is closed, it's closed. So now whatever you guys decide to do, if you decide to lower it, it is only good for 1 year.
Okay. And a valid reason isn't, well, you lowered his.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
So-
And that's a dangerous game you play by just lowering one person's property value, because like you said, if that's only good for a year, that next year, it could jump up 60%.
Right, and then they're gonna wonder why. Well,
Right.
we had to remove that, and then.
So,
Got it.
for the sake of argument, we can only lower it by no more than 1%. At least that's what I.
Correct.
So then how much would
So-
technically, how much would that be? I know I could work out the math, but.
You're talking your jurisdiction as a whole.
Yeah.
So your entire Eden Valley market value cannot exceed 1% of a decrease, which is very, very hard to get. You'd have to probably you'd have to put 20% value on everybody here, and then you're probably gonna get it. So, if you wanted to lower his property, because you guys would probably know it better than I myself, if you wanted to lower it 10%, then we put 10% adjustment on it for a year and take it right back off next year. So.
Do you see trends as to what it could look like next year? You said you're catching up now?
I think right now, with where our values are set, I think we're maintaining what is being sold after our increases.
Okay.
Can that change in the next 5 months? Certainly. It can go either direction. But as what I'm seeing now, countywide, it's just kind of plateauing with the increases that we have.
I always look at real estate as kind of a stock market. It's just, you don't know when
You
it's
don't know.
gonna, and you can have an outbreak that can cause things to go.
Something, yeah.
And like how you're doing it with this one particular property, you actually have it lower. You got it as low as you technically can go.
And that I can.
Yeah, and so it's,
I mean, could I put
so-
a 50% adjustment on it? Yes, but I'm already adjusting 35%. Or the fact that he cannot build on it. It's tiered down from his house, which is normally how it works. So if you own a house here, your second lot out is always gonna be a little bit cheaper. So it's just tiered down. So if you own 3 in a row, it would get that tier. And if this, that's how we value things. Because you shouldn't have the same value on, even if your lot is buildable, but it's in the back and it's, it's still yours. Until it sells and somebody builds on it, then that's when it changes to a buildable lot, per se. So,
Kind of goofy that we have lots in this town that nobody can access except for the people that have houses in front of them. I don't know how we got that way, but
I'm trying to remember where this lot actually is.
you know where Dave's house is, right? You know where the bus garage, or
The bus garage?
not the bus garage, but the van garage behind the school?
Yep.
He's right to the north, the first place right to the north.
Okay, so he's got a lot behind there, and there's a big swamp back there.
correct.
Okay.
I think it's maybe a little higher than he may have stated it is, but,
No,
because he's got trees and stuff in there.
there's another one.
Small there.
it seemed like a lot of people used to do that, buy a lot because it was available, it was behind them, they didn't want anybody back there or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of the way it seems.
It's weird to me that they're there. I'm curious as to how they got there. How did it just wasn't just one big lot to start with?
According to Beacon, there's a road right away that comes
Yeah.
into that lot.
Is that through by that
Okay.
van garage?
Whether it's true.
The goat path?
Yeah.
So if that lot is, I got his place pulled up on satellite here. Yeah, I mean, it's wooded back there, and that, I'd almost question if it couldn't be buildable.
According to that lot, and there's another lot back there that's not behind another house, and they're swamped. They are, you know, it's wetland, it's wet, you know, so.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, you should look at this beacon because there's little parcels all over the place in there. Some are really long and skinny.
So what are the surrounding
Yeah,
roads?
okay.
What, can you zoom on?
So here's,
Just because of time.
here's Meeker Sheriff's, there's the County Line Road.
All right.
Okay.
So, all right, so
Here's the
just
school.
for sake of time, go ahead and go through your.
So I do
Here's
have
the
one
bus
recommendation
or
on
the
the
van
school
garage.
side on their house today, and I'll go
And
through
here's
that one
Dave's
as
house.
well. So we've
these
got
are doing
John
this
Palm, parcel of 24,0162000, complaining about his value again. Reoccurring, there's nothing more after this year that I can absolutely for him. We've been out there 3 times, we've had 3 different staff members. We're kind of at, so if he comes back next year, he's just gonna have to come here himself, so. Anyway, his value came in, so it started at 96.4, and I made some adjustments to the lot, no curb and gutter, and a small adjustment for only having outside basement access for a decrease of $5,400, so I would recommend have a value of 91,000 on that one. And then the one that I was at this afternoon, was Andrew and Bill Hess. Last name is Hesse, I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Mhm.
Parcel ID is 24,076,000. Address is 285 Church Street North, so right over here. Bill called, they bought it after boards last year, he just called me yesterday. Said that they gutted it, nowhere near worth 103 that it was valued at. So I met his parents there actually today, I walked through the house, it is completely gutted. Gonna take them a lot of work to fix that. So I made the adjustments to reflect almost a new build type of a deal, because the structure as a whole is still very good. Inside is not, same with the interior of the garage, so I made adjustments as a, kind of like I said, a new build, so his old value was 103.8. And I would recommend changing his value to 64.2.
64.2?
Yep.
Okay.
And then my recommendation for Dave's lot is to keep that at 4,500.
Because eventually it's gonna get them.
Eventually, he's gonna end up paying,
Right.
he's gonna end up gonna have to be stuck with the property value.
Eventually it has to catch up.
Yeah.
And at 1%, what are you really doing?
Well, I think she
We
said
can
on that,
go, that
Yeah.
1% she's talking about is about just the Meeker County
Yeah.
side of the city in
But
general.
I mean, at the end of the day, 10% at that rate, what does it truly do?
Right, so I'll give you an example, so I looked at the Andrew Bill
It's not
property over
100%.
here, that corner lot, the
That's not true.
larger, their value on that particular lot is about 32,000. So combined, their value totally combined is just about 20. So,
So the lot is 32,000,
yep, for Hess, yep,
yeah, and the house then you're valuing at 32,000.
yep, 32.8. 31.4 is their land value, 32.8.
Thank you.
So would you value their house as a new construct?
So, yeah, I put a percentage of completion on it, I'm keeping the same year build for right now, because I can't tell where it's going. There's no insulation in it, it's gutted, they just have enough floor to get to this side and that side, they're probably gonna end up having to replace the flooring on the upper level as well, because when I went up there, that was really soft. Probably shouldn't walk on it, but.
So when they redo it,
Yeah.
and then you go back and look at it again, what typically with something like that?
So when you flip a house completely like that, you get a new effective age, so it's a 1950 built home. Originally is what's on our records, so then depending on what they do on the inside is how the effective age is adjusted. Typically, just because they're doing it in 2023, typically you don't see it go past 1990, because that's a huge lifespan of an increase. Now, if they start customizing the interior, where they're gonna go custom showers, custom kitchen, things like that, versus one of Menards or Home Depot, that's gonna drive that value up a little bit. Bill was a little concerned if they did get it done and sold this year, whoever did buy it would pay on this value, and I said, yes, because we're a year behind. I said, but however, when I come up this summer and look at it, and if you're done, I said, it'll catch up real quick. The following year.
So then we'll be back up to
Yep.
that adjustment,
Correct.
what we're talking about.
Yep, so I.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
Yep,
for in a
yep,
nutshell.
so as they
basically.
complete, so let's say they just finished the kitchen this year, then that percentage of completion on the house just goes up a little bit, whether it's 5 or 10%. And then as soon as it's completed, then it goes all the way, so. That is all I have.
Okay, all right. Any questions? All right, and do we want to go ahead and vote on this right now while we're here? All right.
We
Then
vote on them separately or all together?
That's up to you, you can, that's,
we can do them all together, unless we're gonna deviate from the county's recommendation.
Even if you are, you can do them together, I'll just write it by parcel number.
If I could say something just before we go to voting, Dave, the property we're talking about that was assessed at 4,500, is there anything else that, any other information, anything that we
just to
could get
verify
from that?
the negative adjustment for it being wet and not buildable. That's about all the information there is to be had on it, dimensions are correct. There's, for my side of things, there's nothing more I could do for him, so at this point, that would be up to you guys. So.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
All right. Anybody want to make the motion?
Make a motion, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Pat, you started.
Okay. I'll make a motion to make the recommended, adjustments and non-adjustments from Meeker County.
Okay, I have a motion to take the recommendations
Huh?
from Meeker County for the 3 parcels in that's been presented.
I'll second.
And second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. 1 opposed. All right, motion carries. And that is actually at time. So I will go ahead and officially close out the Board of Appeals for Meeker County. I'll give a quick second for everybody
Oh,
to
thank you.
shift gears a little bit before we go into our regular meeting. All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, everything you said there.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Aye.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right, if everybody's ready, we'll go ahead and call our regular city council meeting to order. If I can get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Go ahead on to the first item on the first item, approval of tonight's agenda. Everybody have a chance to look. Any questions, clarifications, adjustments? Hearing none, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
And a second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
On to tonight's consent agenda. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A motion by Pat to approve. Second by Troy. All in favor? Aye. Okay, on to item 3, off-sale liquor license for Andy's Hometown Tavern. All right. We have that in. Yeah. You didn't want to just come in and just see how, see how the sausage is made?
What's going on in town? I figured I'd check in that.
All right.
Late for the Stearns meeting.
concerns, any concerns from your side?
Me? No,
Okay.
none.
All right.
I just got a question, if I may, on this. Not that I have a problem. The questions on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and 4, is 1 and 2, does there need to be any more information there, or is that all good?
Yeah, his application is fine, yeah.
No, I just noticed like on the one, it just looked like, you know, we had Minnesota in there. I didn't know if we had to have other, so thank you. It's all good.
He has a full-on liquor license, so they have a lot of this information, but he's just asking to add the off-sale portion to his establishment.
And are you, if I could ask a question, are you looking to sell bottles out of there, or what do you?
Yeah, basically, I have people out there who want a case of beer to go.
Okay.
You know, and it's before the time, and or they don't want to go to the liquor store, it's just more of a convenience thing. And the license is $300 a year, so if I can pay $300 to be convenient, I will. Okay. I'm not putting coolers in or anything like that, I'm not really increasing my inventory, it's just more or less to be convenient with it.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right, hearing none, somebody want to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion by Troy, I have a second by Ann. All in favor? Aye. Hey, quick and painless, right?
Perfect.
Stop by and get that drink.
You too. All right, back up to the agenda. All right, so we are on to item 4, resolution 2023-05, approval of Meeker County Hazard Mitigation Plan for 2023. Anything you want to add, Cindy?
Zach and I have worked with Meeker County. You'll be getting one. All counties are doing this statewide, so we'll be having one on the Stearns County side too. You could have clicked on that button on the agenda, it would have brought you to the plan so you can look at it. In order to final it, they have to have all parties pass the resolution. It's a good plan, you know, it's a well-developed plan. They wrote it, so we just reap the benefits from it, so.
Questions on resolution 2023-05?
Yeah, just one. It is just kind of a general. Is this kind of the same, is this part of that where we sat down and talked about like wellheads or is this
It's
totally?
totally different. We did provide some of that information to them, so when they ask questions, we could go to those maps and that's our wellhead plan, and we can add that to it.
And it's really about recognizing in the county what potential hazards could be there during the event of a natural disaster, and then just having drafted plans on how we would coordinate together as a community and a county to either address those or hit them head on if that need ever arose.
That's it. I mean, there's some places that are far greater for flooding, you know, and resources need to go there, and there's others that are for other hazards then.
So
We have a railroad, sorry, so that's one of our hazards, is a railroad right through town.
I was going to ask about that, and I'm assuming we have our own disaster management plan that within the city, and perhaps it would be good to have a look at that.
We do
see
have
it.
that, and
And it's probably, this would inform a lot of what is involved with our own plan in the event that there was a spill or a derailment and people have to move and.
I think you're touching on something that probably what we probably should do is get our emergency management director to look at our plans.
he's on it already. We're working on that with Stephanie too, so that we're matching. He's more familiar on the Meeker County side, so he'll go through that with Meeker County, and I'll go through it with Stearns County, and we'll combine the two, so.
Good to
For-
see that.
Yeah,
Vince.
and I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys know this or not, but Steve Schmidt is our emergency management director for the city. So, and with him being a commissioner, he's been involved with a lot of this stuff along the way, so he's
Yeah,
pretty familiar with that.
yeah.
All right, if there is no other questions, we'll go ahead and move to the approval. Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion by Ann to approve.
Second?
I was gonna say, here's your cue. All right, I go with the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to approval of March bills. Anything important to note in there, Cindy, or just business as usual?
Business as usual. I was looking to see if there was, we had a $10,000 bill, and that was rebuilding the pump and motor in our south well. So when you were looking at it, you went, what is that? Snow removal. That, a few large bills from snow removal. And we paid our audit for $20,000.
How are we looking for snow removal for this year as far as like the budget? Do you know offhand?
I do.
You anticipated I was gonna ask that question.
You know, because Zach and I just talked about, we're over our budget for this year. However, we do get reimbursed from the state, so we've gotten about $7,000 now from MnDOT as reimbursement for removal of State Street. So that brings our budget down a little bit. We're gonna hope for, again, a low December, which we had this past year. We didn't have a huge, our biggest expense has been after January 1, but we've eaten that budget very quickly, and every city in the state is over budget. But with MnDOT paying for State Street, it brings us under budget, so, yeah, it balances out. He doesn't have to pull into reserve yet. I don't know what it's doing out there right now, but, yeah, our hope is no more.
No more snow.
Right, or snow removal or anything to do with it. Yeah.
I have one question, I think I know the answer to this.
Okay,
DG Minnesota.
that's the solar.
Okay.
They changed their name.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
like the $1,800 bill or whatever, that's the credit for there?
That's what we pay, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And right now, of course, there's not a lot of credit. So Excel and their bill is, you don't see a big reduction in Excel. Where in the summer, Excel goes way down because we get a lot of credit.
So that's for all of Stearns? Or that's, I guess
It's for the whole city.
okay, but it's got the church address.
It lists the first
Oh,
address on
Okay,
there as.
that's why I was like,
Yes,
what are you talking
sorry.
about here?
Yeah, I forget
No,
sometimes.
no, thank you, because,
Yeah, the
it was
comment
totally
gives
not
the
what I
first
thought.
list. Okay, good.
so thank you.
Yes.
That was totally not what I thought it was. I
What
thought it
did
was
you
snow
think?
removal.
Oh,
Actually, for the church.
Got it.
Is what I actually thought it was.
Wouldn't
because
that
it
be
says
nice?
State Street.
yeah,
Okay,
If the city.
no, no, so thank you.
yeah,
That's-
first line of comments, what's on there.
So it just hits the, whatever the,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
How would that be nice if the city could do that for the church?
But if you do it for one, you gotta do it for all.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the bills, March bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills?
All right, I have a motion to pay the bills by Pat. I'll go ahead and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to department readouts. Cindy.
You should have in your packet, you should have the quarterly report for our first quarter. It looks like this. On the revenue side, I just highlighted a couple with the green arrows, meaning we've taken in more than we budgeted for. And rentals, we moved a few. with our new rental inspector, we wanted to balance out this year versus next year, and so we moved some into this year, so the dollar is up. And you can see that's where the snow removal, we estimate usually about 1,800 from MinDOT, and we've received to date 7,600. So that's not anything we will budget for. It won't be something we will probably change that 1,800 next year, because snow removal goes like this, so. And then on the expense side, the red arrow, meaning we've had larger expenses for 3 of them, one being snow removal. We budgeted 34,000 and we've spent 35,000. No, oh no, no, it's not. We're at 102%. However, that was through March, and we have November and December that's part of this budget, so we never like to go, we'd rather be at the like 80% and then still have funds, but that's okay. Fire, I picked that because we've spent 40% of the budget, and it was one of the questions that Ann had asked, and that's because we paid the loan. So that 73,000, we pay 54,000 for the fire hall loan, and that gets paid in December, so that's why that's so high. Library had we're at 47%, they had a large bill, however, they're reimbursing for that bill, but we haven't received the revenue yet, so. It comes in through, because they called ARVIG. So it comes in the ARVIG bill. So I could not pay ARVIG, but then it comes back to us as though it's past due. So I'd rather just pay the bill and then invoice them on that. It shouldn't have come through us. It needs to get set up a little differently. I just haven't figured out how to do that.
That makes sense.
Yes. The other one where they utilized a different IT person, they paid that bill themselves. This is one where they called ARVIG, so, yep. So hopefully I did include also water and sewer so that you could see that as well on the revenue side. The expense side, we're where we want to be, on the expense side. And I put the percentage in there, that's where we want to be, 25%. And we're below that for all of our expenses. On the revenue side, we went over 50% revenue for water and sewer, and that's because we received that 256,000. And that went into water and sewer. That will go to pay for things as you talk budget and things like that. Any questions on that? What's next? Oh, the cash and investment balances. So through March 31st, we currently have $3,988,235 in our cash and investments. It is, yep. Water and sewer if you look at the bottom 3, water, treatment, and sewer those are good numbers. And some of that'll go down come August when we pay the bonds, but yeah, no, it's good. That's all I have. No, I think that's it.
Anything for Cindy? All right, did Zach have anything? He's not here.
He just is hoping for nice weather to go away. I mean, it's nice weather to come. Yes. Well, he is a snowmobiler, so there you are.
Yes.
Hang on, I'm gonna text him that quick.
Yeah.
Cindy said,
Snow to go. then he can get out and get things cleaned up and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good, okay. All right, on to Ed.
I did not hand these out. Call this. Let me take a quick look at this. And while I'm up here, we did get our body cams.
Oh, nice.
You guys can see that. Actually, today is the first day that we've actually had them, so everything is tied up and ready to go with them, and
Nice.
it's
So
good.
you
very good.
videoing this right now, or?
It technically is, but it dumps it every 30 seconds.
Oh,
So
okay.
it plays back 30 seconds of video and audio,
Mhm.
just to capture everything that could possibly.
Wow.
So how does that work when you are on a call, then do you push a button or something, or?
You press it.
You push a button.
So with this one, it's a click right here, button right here. Click it, and it starts recording audio, video, of course. And yeah, and it goes 30 seconds back from when I click the button. So it gives you plenty of opportunity to capture something that might have happened. Now, if it's turned off, then it's not doing that, but it's in standby mode is what we call it. And these can go for a very long time just sitting like this. So, and the nice,
In my mind, because I was gonna ask you how long they last in stand.
it can, this camera could record for 7 hours straight. And it has enough hard drive on it to keep that. So if I want to go into super detail here, an hour of video and audio is 2.5 gigabytes, which is actually less than I thought it would be originally. And so these body cams work really well with the software that we currently already have. It's wonderful. And so now I just have to get external hard drives. And I'm talking, if I got a 4 terabyte external hard drive, I think if I did my math correctly, Hunter and I could both run our body cams for 800 hours each before that thing is filled up. And we won't reach that for a long time. I mean, 800 hours is insane.
You really only need to keep the footages if you actually record something like that.
So we follow a data retention schedule, and it's set up differently based on what you recorded. So like the 20 test videos that I've done, we can just delete those. We don't need to save those for any reason. But like, I think they go down to, the minimum is 90 days that we have to retain them. And that would be an example of like, I was on scene at a civil dispute. You know, there's nothing law enforcement related to it. It's just we're mediating a situation, or a traffic stop with a warning, 90 days. And so when you're done recording, you get to choose a category. And based on the category, I can do a search for those. And, you know, once we hit a certain threshold, I think how I'm gonna do it is majority of our recordings are gonna be traffic. And then our longer ones that we have, they're gonna be fewer, but those are the ones that are gonna take up more space. It'll just be easy for me to go month by month. And once we hit, you know, if I did a traffic stop today, you know, April, May, June, July, maybe in August, so we were for sure outside that 90-day window, go in and delete the April ones. You know, so I'll set something up like that, because then I want to retain the ones that we're going to need, of course, obviously. But then the majority of these smaller videos that add up, you know, if a minute is, I think a minute was 42 megabytes or something like that, those add up over time, you know? So, yeah, it'll work out. And Hunter's very excited to have them. I'm very excited to have it. And it's been a lengthy process, but everything is rolled out as it should. So, and we still got the body cam audit company still on board. So they actually just sent me an email a couple weeks ago with their certifications and stuff. So we're good there. Yeah. Moving on to the call list. 79 calls in March. March was a training month for us. Hunter's now working independently. Calls me if he needs something, but things are going well.
Can I have you do me a favor with your report? If you could, you know, and when you are like, is this, if you could do something where, like, is this, you know, same level as it was this time?
Compare it?
Yeah, kind of compare it, see, you know, you get a trend over, you know, maybe a little bit of a trend. Don't put a, you know, don't make it big and elaborate, but.
Well, what I could easily do is I could compare March's calls last year just by number, so the total calls from last year.
That'd be perfect.
Do you want me to go get March's right now?
No.
I could do it easy.
For next month.
Okay, I will do it.
We're already 8:30.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so I should hurry up, okay.
It's gonna turn into a pumpkin.
It seems to be, I always have a lot to say when the meetings are going late. No, I can do a comparison. Absolutely. I can make it super easy on here. What I'll do is I'll start an Excel spreadsheet or something and I'll log it on my own and then I'll put it in the format that you see. We'll start that next month.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right. Anything else, Evan?
Nope, other than, you know, Hunter, you know, doing well, being on his own.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it's worked out really, really well having him.
All right. Anything, any questions for Evan?
Not for Evan.
How'd your last snowfall go? Few vehicles on the road?
Few. Well, not on the road.
April first,
See,
it's like, I can park there.
It's not an issue if they're on like, for snowplow.
They got
Yeah.
like plowed around.
It's like April first, right? It doesn't matter, it can snow 12 inches, let's just keep parking.
We're still in the snow ordinance, even if it's April. Yes, absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure. There was a few that I kind of thought, this is odd, but just wondering.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I was thinking the same thing.
Well, on Main Street, you can't park there at overnight anyway, so.
Well, actually, technically, it's any city street, any city block in the city, you can't park. If I remember correctly, it's 3:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. You can't park on the street anywhere in the city.
Did not know that.
Yep.
The new Main Street we had.
Yeah, the Main Street.
The ordinance says every city block.
Wow, I learned something new. I'm done. All right, calling it.
Yeah.
All right, if nobody's got anything for Evan, we'll go ahead.
I have
Oh,
just
you got
one
it.
question, and it's
absolutely.
probably not that relevant, but do you get a lot of the, I would just generally mention, say problems, excuse me, problems caused by people who are not residents, Eden Valley residents, like people coming through or just stopping by for?
I see what you mean. I'm trying to think. So, people just here in town, I mean, when we're talking, I guess it would depend on the category. I'm gonna say for the majority, no. Most of the issues that we run into are not, you know, people that have came here to visit the, you know, the city. It's, yeah, I'd say for the most part, it's residents.
Okay.
You got some congregation members you want them to keep watch out for? Or?
Careful, this is being recorded.
Yes, I know, I'm aware of that. No, I'm just wondering because sometimes you hear people, you know, generally just talking, saying, our city is very safe and it's okay, but we have people coming from outside and bringing drugs and things like that. So in general, when you think about public safety and who causes trouble in our city, just an idea, it's good to know that we don't have that. So I can tell people that I don't think that's true. We're
Right.
causing our own troubles, but
We're good at that.
yeah, so that was where the question was coming from. When people say, you know, we have some trouble, but we think we have some people coming in to cause trouble. It's not people who live here.
Right, and not to say that doesn't happen, but very in tune with the businesses. And it's really interesting when I go and, you know, I simply gas up the squad or something like that at Jack's. And I go in and I'm talking to
the clerks and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, you know, I've never seen them before, you know? They kind of give me a heads up on some of that stuff too. And it's interesting to see when they see somebody that, like, you know, their customer service as well, just like I am. They deal with, you know, 1,000 people a day. And they let me know, hey, there's just kind of, you know, he's kind of outlier. It was just kind of he had odd behavior or something like that. And it's interesting to see how often that ends up coming true maybe 8 hours later at 2 a.m., you know? So I'm not saying that it's never gonna happen, but for the most part, you know, we're dealing with issues that residents have brought up.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have another one. Sure. So Monday night, we had active shooter emergency response training over at high school, and next Monday we will again to do more of the hands-on. And one of the things that kind of stuck to me a little bit is if we do run into a situation like, God, I hope we never have to, but if we do, something that kind of stuck with me as we were looking at how you would block that off. We'd basically have to block off the entire town. So I don't know how we as a city would handle that, where if we had a situation like that where the council members would have to get together and discuss what we're gonna do to help out that situation, where we would meet, because I don't think we could meet here, because we'd be too close to the incident. I don't think we could get here. So I don't know if we have
Part of our emergency plan is active shooting is, and yes, you can get into town. You would be given a badge, you should all be given a badge that allows you to be able to get in that, you know, that they would allow you to be in.
right. It just was something that stuck to me as, you know,
Yep.
with just the way where that school sets, I'm almost certain we'd have to block off all entrances into town, at least from the railroad tracks, that way, Stearns, you know. There's no way we could just block right around the school, just because there's so many entrances into that school, especially from the north side.
When they get to that section,
What's that?
when they get to that part of that emergency plan, certainly want chief there and the other chiefs and in on that plan, you know, how it looks and what it really, you
And
know.
of course, when we think of something like that, the unfortunate part is that we think school, but an event like that could happen anywhere.
Yeah,
And when you're talking of, you know, a city, it's a community that's tight, you're gonna have that issue pretty much anywhere, you know? And I think I've thought about stuff as well. How much planning can we truly do, though? You know what I mean? A lot of that's gonna come down to we can do planning, I agree. A lot of that's gonna come down to the emergency response and how that at least starts in the beginning and how we kind of fold out from there, you know?
Or even if a person, or, you know, we would happen to have an active shooter incident here. You know,
yeah. There are plans
we have
that
to have,
are well
there must be a
written
fallback span.
from cities who have experienced this very same thing in a town our size. And geographically in smaller communities, larger communities, that we certainly would reach out to find out, what do you have now in place that you didn't have before?
As far as like, if council had to convene an emergency meeting, there is carve-outs for that, where we don't have to meet here. As long as we meet the notification rules, without holding an emergency meeting, it can be held in your backyard.
Right.
Well, and the second kind of part of that kind of struck me a little bit is you don't want to have the same meeting spot every time. So you want to have like, say, 3 or 4 different spots and randomized, because if they see a pattern, and if they're after somebody, let's say after somebody on the council, and they come in and have an active shooter here, and they know where we're gonna be, they could come and go to wherever the council's at, or wherever, even like, you know, school or any of the other businesses, if they practice their plan, and the active shooter happens to know where, the fallback position is, they'll just go to that spot.
If I remember right, typically, you know, in emergency meetings, you don't want to have it at somebody's house. You want to have it in a public location that's easily accessible by the public, easily securable, you know, by whether law enforcement or other emergency personnel that can provide security.
So, it was just some thoughts I had as I was sitting there watching the scary videos and listening to the instructor, so.
Yeah, good thoughts. Actually, that's one of the things I had in mind, that if we have a plan as a city, it would be nice to know what is our emergency response in a situation like that. As council members, what is our responsibility immediately? How do we, because you can't, like you said, you can't plan for everything, but it's good to know what the plan is. If something happens, what is my role? What do I do? You know? So it would be nice to see at least basic
That
plan.
is the point of an emergency management plan, yeah, yeah. It addresses
Yeah.
from a tornado to a,
And there,
you know.
and there is, and I would recommend this, I actually did some of the FEMA course training. And that was really good stuff, because that'll teach you and walk you through, like, you know, how how command center is set up, who can be in the command center, what role you play as a council member versus a role I would play versus what Cindy, you know, it lays all that out. So you have a good understanding that in an emergency situation, not necessarily an active shooter, but just natural disasters or anything.
I think the council is supposed to do, I don't know if it's like IMS, I can't think of that letter, IMS 201 and 202. There's some all the way up to the stuff that the fire department goes through, and then the stuff the police department goes through. Those aren't, but those first couple, I can't remember the numbers anymore, and I have to get it back out again. So, yeah, because you can do them online now, so.
I can't think that the city's ever done a tabletop, you know, just put the plan out in front of it and say, here's the emergency, what do you do?
I don't think you've looked at the if the one that's in my office is any indication, I had to blow the dust off of it from when Steve and I were sitting talking about it. It's like 1988 or something. Yeah, yeah.
No.
And that you certainly want to have. You want to have a plan. I just think of the you know, we had a train derail and that thing burned for 2 days, and you know, that little tiny town wasn't ready. They were not ready for it either. It was, you know.
We have a pipeline.
Yeah, we have a train. We got a, you know.
Train, pipelines, 2 state highways.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuel depot.
Yeah.
And then you talk to people like in the Red River Valley, man, it's this time of the year, and at my conference, they get the book out. They've written the book on what to do for flooding. You know, there's things they're already doing and they are already putting into place, and because they know it's gonna flood. I mean, there's no way this isn't gonna flood somewhere, so we might be lucky, but there's gonna be a lot.
I'll be fine. You guys might be underwater down there over here.
That's right. Flowing right through my doors.
Behind my house, I'll be all right.
Now then Mitch will come and then we'll have river property.
Waterfront property.
I want that price.
All right. Anything else? Okay, all right. Go ahead and move on to upcoming meetings. Council meeting / workshop on April 19th at 7 p.m. That is also when we're gonna have the auditor come in and review the city audit. Then something I was talking to Cindy last week about, because we're not moving forward with adopting of the state building code, we have some opportunities to go around and chip around the edges on some of our existing zoning ordinances, also figuring out what we're gonna do for a zoning administrator, and also for rental and compliance inspections. So there is a joint meeting.
You said, do we have a rental inspector?
Yeah. Rental inspection is,
You got that covered.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Forgot. But anyway, long story short, we got a joint meeting with the planning Planning Commission on April 26th at 7 PM. That'll be around zoning ordinances.
Can I add one thing before we adjourn? Can I make an ask, I guess, if we could? Am I good to go?
Sure, yeah, that's all right, go for it.
When we talk about this, could we bring up, Aho Edition as far as types of homes that can be in there? I would like to see stick built only, not anything moved in, modular, anything, stick built.
I will bring the information, because I did call the attorney on a couple of those, on whether or not you can section off your town and only allow a certain thing in one section of your town and not in another section.
Isn't there something in the developers agreement on what type of homes?
You mean like a covenant or something?
Yeah, the
There's a
covenant there,
it
but it
doesn't have it in there.
doesn't.
And that's what I was asking, I mean, it'd be nice to have like homes there.
If
When I
you
say like homes,
can send, this one I wrote down, but if you have other things that you want information on for the meeting, you have to send them ahead of time. It won't do us any good to have 10 people here with no information. So if you want information, we will research it and we'll get it so that it's here. Yep, yep,
I'd rather do that and then
yep,
have a discussion on that.
yep. So send whatever you want to, if you've looked at your ordinance book, if you know you have an ordinance book, or online, go on the website, you know.
All right, then with that being said, I will go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting. Good night. Au revoir.
Actually surprised me that they don't have a covenant like that down there.
You
Just to
know,
lock- Just to lock themselves into the only ones being able to build down there.
I just naturally assumed that there was.
What?
That there was, there was a company there that basically designed that whole area that you had to be,
That developer's agreement was written specifically as though Aho was gonna start and finish. It's not a very good developer's agreement. And the covenant is written as though Aho was going to build it and design it and.
It's actually a very horrible building
It is,
agreement.
it is.
And it should have been released back to the city after 5 years if it went stagnant.